After recording that Brock Purdy video, it got me thinking if there's any other quarterbacks that have kind of burst onto the scene, but then maybe burst off the scene as quickly as they came on. Purdy's doing a fantastic job right now, but is he going to be around forever? Nobody knows. This video that we're reacting to today is the biggest one-year wonder quarterbacks of all time. I hope Purdy doesn't become one of them, but we never know, do we? That's what we're checking out today, guys. Make sure you're subscribed. Give the video a like if you do enjoy it today. And always comment down below, because I do respond to you guys, so don't be afraid. Comment down below. I'll respond to you. Let's dive in. Let's go.
Off as first-round busts to leading their team to the Super Bowl, these quarterbacks shocked the world with unforgettable seasons. But in the blink of an eye, they went from heroes to zeros. Here are the biggest one-year wonder quarterbacks.
You want to do the opposite, don't you? You want to be the zero to hero.
Robert Griffin III's rookie season was so electrifying that even his biggest haters couldn't have predicted how his career would crash and burn.
His rookie year, he was, off the charts. Every type of record he broke in Washington. That year was better than any Super Bowl years they had.
The jump from college to pro ball for quarterbacks is...
Why does his arm look so weird on that picture? Sorry, I shouldn't be reversing. Is it me or does his arm just look severely... Is it just me who's seeing this? It just looks so weird here. I don't know what's going on there.
From college to pro ball for quarterbacks is supposed to be one of the toughest out of any position. But in 2012, RG3 made it look like child's play. His dual threat ability was borderline unstoppable.
On the keeper, it's Griffin, and look out. RG3 is going to outrace everybody.
As he threw for 3,200 yards and 20 touchdowns to go with 815 rushing yards and 7 rushing scores. RG3 set records for the highest passer rating by a rookie quarterback at 102.4 and the highest touchdown to interception ratio at 4-1. His 6.8 yards per carry was also the highest in the league by nearly an entire yard. He looked like Superman out there as he led a team to the postseason that had only won 15 total games in the previous 3 seasons. For his heroics,
So are Washington just bad at every sport? Because I know that the Nationals, they did win the World Series, but apart from that, they're kind of like terrible, aren't they? And then the Wizards in basketball, it's not really happening there either, has it? And then in football, by the sounds of it, not very good either. What's going on in Washington?
RG3 won Offensive Rookie of the Year and was named to the Pro Bowl. In what was otherwise a storybook first season, its final chapter ended up being a nightmare. During Washington's wildcard game, RG3 went to pick up a low snap before taking an awkward couple of steps and collapsing in excruciating pain. Having tore his ACL and LCL, he rushed the recovery process to be ready for the following season opener and was just never the same. RG3's elite athleticism and playmaking ability vanished, as he also struggled to consistently stay healthy. After going 9-6 as a rookie, he only added 7 more career wins as a starter. And while RG3 peaked in year 1, Case Keenum's career got off to a start that made it seem like...
That's a sad end. I hate ones that end with injury, man, but I guess that's going to be the story here, innit? A lot of injury.
He would never even have the chance to become somebody. Having gone undrafted, Keenum spent his entire rookie season in the Texans practice squad. In his second year, he finally got the chance to prove himself, but things didn't go according to plan. In 8 starts, Keenum didn't win a single game, while only throwing 9 touchdowns and completing 54.2% of his passes. Over the next 3 seasons, he served as a backup for 3 different teams. Heading into 2017, Keenum was set to be a backup again with the 4th team, the Vikings. But when Sam Bradford got hurt, Keenum had a final chance to prove himself worthy of a starting spot in the NFL. That year, with the pressure on, Keenum did the unthinkable and led Minnesota to a 13-3 record. He threw for 3,547 yards and 22 touchdowns with a passer rating of 98.3. But Keenum didn't only shine in the regular season. Under the postseason's bright lights, he threw for over 300 yards and made one of the most iconic clutch plays in league history to send the Vikings to their first NFC Championship game in nearly a decade. Trailing by 1 with 10 seconds left and the ball on their own 39-yard line, Keenum orchestrated the Minneapolis Miracle.
We need a
Minneapolis Miracle. I like that.
Case on a deep drop, steps up in the pocket. He'll fire to the right side.
Oh, let's give some credit to the receiver, though. My God.
10, touchdown!
It was the first playoff game to ever end in a touchdown as time expired. And although the Vikings fell to the eventual Super Bowl champion Eagles in the conference title game, Keenum had earned respect around the league. So much so that he cashed in with a 2-year, $36 million contract with the Broncos.
So I agree. Yes, this is the right move for the Broncos. and I believe Elway did an unbelievable job.
But unfortunately for both Keenum and
happen.
Denver, he didn't see the end of that contract with the team. After going 6-10 as the starter and throwing nearly as many interceptions, 15, as touchdowns, 18, the Broncos traded him to Washington. There, Keenum only started half the season as the team went...
Let's say they traded him for a 6th round pick. Whew. That's ugly.
1-7 with him under center. He then spent the following 3 years as a backup in Cleveland and Buffalo. This offseason, in a full circle moment, Keenum signed with the Texans, where he will mentor their young QBs, C.J. Stroud and Davis Mills.
Being able to instill, impart a little bit of that knowledge, that wisdom that I've been taught into the next generation is priceless.
Fair play to you,
Like
man.
Keenum, Derek Anderson...
And people like that will have a lot of knowledge to pass on because they can, like, let people know, like, you got to stick in there because your chance will come. And when your chance comes, you got to make the most of that opportunity. Even though it didn't end well, my man still had a great season in the NFL, which is more than most people do, right?
was on his way to being nothing more than a backup until he shocked the world by lifting a team out of the gutter. Drafted in 2005 by the Ravens in the 6th round, Anderson was waived before ever even taking his first snap. The Browns immediately claimed him off waivers, but he didn't make his debut until the following year. In 2006, Anderson went 0-3 as a starter, while throwing 8 interceptions to go with just 5 touchdowns.
Oh, that's
doesn't
an ugly
exactly
stat.
scream starter material. So, heading into 2007, he was slated to be the Browns' backup. But in the season opener, the starter, Charlie Fry, was so bad that Cleveland had no other choice but to turn to Anderson again. And what happened next, nobody in their right mind would have predicted. Anderson guided the Browns to a 10-5 record, finishing with 3,787 passing yards and 29 touchdowns, which were 5th most in the league. He also led the NFL in yards per completion at 12.7. Despite the 10 wins not being enough to make the playoffs, it was still Cleveland's most victories in a season since 1994. To show just how unexpected the season was, Anderson was named AP Comeback Player of the Year. It seemed like him and the Browns had finally figured it all out. But Anderson spent just 2 more seasons in Cleveland, only winning 6 games as a starter. After 2007, Anderson never
6 games in 2 years?
started more than 10 games in a single season. Over the following 11 seasons, he added just 10 more career wins. But Tim Tebow's story was nothing like that.
I've heard of Tebow.
As a matter of fact, his career is one of the most unique the game has ever seen. He was one of the most dominant college football players of all time, but fell in the 2010 draft to the Broncos at number 25.
And with the 25th pick in the 2010 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Tim Tebow, quarterback, Florida.
There were doubts about how his game would translate at the next level. So, as a rookie, Tebow only started 3 games. Denver went 1-2 as he completed only half of his passes. Not having done enough to win the job, Tebow headed into 2011 as the backup behind Kyle Orton. But following a 1-4 start by the Broncos, it was time to give Tebow another chance. So, in Week 6, as Denver trailed Miami by 15 late in the 4th quarter, their season looked all but over when Tebow rallied the troops to secure an 18-15 overtime win. It was the start of something magical as he led the Broncos to 7 wins in 11 games with his leadership and gritty play. Finishing at 8-8, Denver took advantage of a down year in the AFC West and somehow won the division. In their wild card matchup with
They
the
won the division with an 8-8 record. That's wild.
Steelers, college version of Tebow showed up as he threw for a career-high 316 yards in an all-time classic. On the first play of overtime, he hit Demaryius Thomas over the middle on a strike that resulted in an 80-yard game-winning touchdown. Denver's fairy tale season came to an end the following week against the Patriots, and one would assume Tebow was just getting started. Except Peyton Manning, for the first time in his career, hit the free agent market, and the Broncos swooped right in to sign him. With one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time now on their roster, the Broncos had no need for Tebow anymore, so they traded him to the Jets. That year in New York, Tebow threw just 8 total passes and was released the ensuing offseason. Although he later wound up signing contracts with the Patriots, Eagles, and Jaguars, Tebow never made another 53-man roster. So, as crazy as this sounds, after leading a 1-4 team to a playoff victory, he only had 8 more career pass attempts.
That's wild. Well, that's not really giving me the full story. Did he fail all those pass attempts? How can you only get 8 pass attempts after having such a good season there? But it's not. He described it as a fairy tale season. I mean, Going 8-8 in a year isn't a fairy tale season, is it? I mean, come on. How low are the expectations there?
Tebow rose and fell in the blink of an eye. Tommy Maddox's journey to the top was as far from a straight path as it gets. Maddox's career seemed so hopeless at one point that he even switched jobs. The Broncos took him in the '92 draft with the 25th overall pick, and as a rookie, Maddox started 4 games. Denver went 0-4, and he finished the season with only 5 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Following this disastrous start, Maddox spent the next 3 seasons as a backup for the Broncos, Rams, and Giants. He didn't start a single game after his rookie season, and in 1997, the Falcons cut him, so Maddox decided enough was enough, and he became an insurance agent. He didn't play another down of football until 2000, when he joined the Arena Football League. Maddox played 1 year there, and then another in the XFL. His career got a second life once he was named MVP of the XFL, and the Steelers signed him to be their backup for the 2001 season.
I don't actually know what the XFL is. Is it just like a lower I know it's not associated with the NFL, but is it just like a lower version of it, or is it different rules altogether? I've no idea. I've heard of it. I've never watched it.
In Week 4 of 2002, Maddox became the starter after leading Pittsburgh to a dramatic comeback victory, and he never turned back. He led the Steelers to a 7-3-1 record, throwing for nearly 3,000 yards and 20 touchdowns. For his effort getting Pittsburgh into the playoffs, Maddox was named AP Comeback Player of the Year. In their wild card matchup with the Browns, he rose to the occasion by throwing for 367 yards and 3 touchdowns in a thrilling 36-33 win.
Throw, goal line, touchdown.
Despite losing to the Titans in the divisional round, Maddox had captivated the city and earned the starting job moving forward. But the following year, he went 6-10 with 18 touchdowns and 17 interceptions before being relegated to a backup in 2004 and 2005. The Steelers released him, and Maddox later that year tried out for the Raiders and Cowboys, but didn't make either team. His roller coaster of a career was officially over.
Go back to selling insurance.
And just as Maddox looked like a bust of a first-round pick, Rex Grossman was universally hated in Chicago until one magical moment. In the 2003 draft, the Bears took Grossman with the
universally hated in Chicago. What sort of sentence is that?
22nd overall pick. As a rookie, he only saw playing time once Chicago was eliminated from postseason contention. In those 3 games, he completed just over half of his passes, averaged under 150 passing yards, and only threw 2 touchdowns. Despite this extremely underwhelming start, the Bears, ahead of the 2004 season, named him the starter. That year, Grossman never got the chance to prove his doubters wrong, as in Week 3, he suffered a torn ACL that prematurely ended his season. Then, in 2005, what was supposed to be his big comeback campaign, Grossman broke his ankle in a preseason game. The injury sidelined him until Week 15.
I hate ankle injuries, man. I've had ankle injuries playing football. Not this football, playing soccer. Football.
He came in and played the hero. Grossman led the Bears to back-to-back wins, which clinched the team a playoff berth. But in the divisional round, he struggled big time in a loss to the Panthers, completing 17 of 41 passes for just 192 yards. With this mixed bag of results from Grossman, Chicago decided to give him one more chance in 2006. Grossman went out and did something nobody saw coming. He led the Bears to a 13-3 record, while throwing for over 3,000 yards and 23 touchdowns. Then, with his gunslinging playstyle, Grossman somehow found a way to guide Chicago all the way to their first Super Bowl appearance since 1985. But in the big game, with everything on the line, his luck ran out. The Bears fell to the Colts, and Grossman didn't know it at the time, but this would be the peak of his career. Over the next 2 seasons in Chicago, due to a combination of injuries and poor play, Grossman started just 8 games. He only won 2 of them, as he finished with 6 touchdowns compared to 9 interceptions. Grossman then signed with the Texans and served as the team's backup for a year before signing with the Redskins. In Washington, he got one more chance to be a starter, but fumbled the opportunity. Over the course of 2 years with him starting, the team went 6-10 as he threw 24 interceptions. Grossman signed a few more contracts, but never played another down. While Grossman will forever have to think about what could have been, Mark Rypien was...
I'd love to know how much money's been spent on players who never actually play in the NFL. You know what I mean? I know these guys have played in the NFL, but I bet there's some guys who get contracts and never even play a single minute of an NFL game. If you totaled all that money up of all those different guys, what do you reckon the total would be? I bet it's an insane amount of money.
At least able to accomplish something that not a single other player on this list could. As a 6th-round pick in the '86 draft by the Redskins, Rypien spent his first 2 NFL seasons on the IR with a bum knee and a bad back. But once he finally got healthy, he still had to sit behind franchise hero Doug Williams. The two of them eventually split time, but the team didn't fully become Rypien's until the '91 season. With all eyes on him now, he rose to the occasion and put the nation's capital on his back. Rypien led the Redskins to a 14-2 record, throwing for 3,564 yards and 28 touchdowns, which were respectively 4th and 2nd most in the league. As a merit of his outstanding play, he came in 4th in MVP voting and was named to the All-Pro second team. But
that picture was like the most unenthusiastic celebration picture I've ever seen.
Record, throwing for
I went back
3,564
too far,
yards and 28 touchdowns,
bad.
which were respectively 4th and 2nd most in the league. As a merit of his outstanding play, he came in.
There we go. He's like, yeah, we did it, guys. Yeah.
4th in MVP voting and was named to the All-Pro second team. But legends aren't just made in the regular season. In the playoffs, Rypien took his game to another level and led Washington to the Super Bowl. Then, on the game's biggest stage, he threw for 292 yards and 2 touchdowns in a 37-24 win over the Bills. Rypien etched his name into the history books as he was named the game's MVP. After this fairy tale season for him and the Redskins, everybody expected this to be the start of a dynasty. But the next year, Washington finished with a 9-7 record before losing in the divisional round. That season, Rypien's passer rating fell from 97.9 to 71.7.
It's still a winning record, though. I mean, it's still not bad. You got to the playoffs.
While he threw more interceptions, 17, than touchdowns, 13.
Oh, okay. I take that back.
It turned out to be the beginning of the end for him, as the following season he lost the starting job. From 93 on, Rypien won just 5 total games as a starter. In addition to these 7 players...
I don't like that stat, though, because he said that a couple of times now. He only won 5 games as a starter. He only won 3 games as a starter since this year. But how many games did he play? Because if he played 6 games and won 5, then that's pretty fantastic, isn't it?
There are 3 more that we at least have to mention. Playing for 6 teams over a 17-year career, Steve Bauerlein was nothing more than a journeyman, except for one special season. In 1999, at the age of 34 with the Panthers, he set franchise records for most passing yards with 4,436 and touchdowns with 36. Having led the league in passing yards, Bauerlein was named to the Pro Bowl. But after a disappointing following season, Carolina quickly moved on from it, and he only won 2 more career games. Elvis Grback's first 5 years in the league were also pretty forgettable, as he never threw for more than 2,000 yards in a season until the year 2000, which was Grback's coming out party with the Chiefs at the age of 30, when he somehow threw for 4,169 yards and 28 touchdowns. After making the Pro Bowl, the Ravens signed him to a deal, but Grback reverted to his old ways. The following year, Baltimore cut him, so Grback then retired. In the opposite fashion from Grback and Bauerlein, Don Majkowski's peak came very early. In just his 3rd year as a pro and first as a full-time starter, Majkowski set the league on fire. He led the NFL in passing yards with 4,318 and was 3rd in touchdowns with 27, on his way to coming in 2nd in MVP voting and being named to the All-Pro second team. But over the following 7 seasons, Majkowski never won more than 4 games or threw for more than 2,000 yards in a season. He only threw for double-digit passing touchdowns on one occasion with just 10 of them. But hey, it's better to have been good once and lost it than to never have been good at all.
That's what I'm saying.
Or at least, I think that's how the quote goes.
Well, there we have it, guys. Is there anyone you think that should be on this list that's not on the list? And out of these ones on the list, who is the biggest one-year wonder? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Like I said, if you are enjoying these videos, subscribe, help a guy out. Just click that subscribe button. It takes you 2 seconds, and it'll put a smile on my face. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you for the next one. Take it easy. Peace.